so we're starting section 8.2, and the idea behind the section 8.2 is to find the shortest path between our starting point node 1 and the endpoint node 6. Okay, now there are some other algorithms out there. We're going to focus on something called Dijkstra's algorithm, Dutch. And the way Dijkstra's algorithm will work is we start off just by listing the nodes here. So I've listed my nodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on the left here we write down the node that we're starting with, and then we just go through, and in each entry we write down what the distance is between node 1 and the other nodes. So the distance from node 1 to node 1 is 0, so we kind of think of that as the stopping, that's our current position. Distance from node 1 to node 2 is 4. From node 1 to node 3 is 3. From node 1 to node 4, now because it's not directly connected, we don't connect it at all, so we're going to put infinity there. And then so that would be the same thing for 5 and 6. Good. Now I also like to include a little subscript here telling me where those are coming from, these entries here. Okay, so now the way to go to the next row is to find the minimum of this row that's unboxed, which is the 3, and then underneath here we will box it up, and we'll list 3 there. Okay, and now we do the same thing. 3 is not connected to 1. Well, once you have a box, you're finished with that column, so you don't have to write any more after that. So underneath the 3, right, will be finished. However, we do have the 2 here. 3 is not connected to 2, and so what you do in that case is you just bring down the value that you had before. So that's just a 4 with a 1 on it. Good. And then is 3 connected to 4? No. So that's going to be infinity still. Is 3 connected to 5? Yes, with a 3. And so notice that that's you're going to add 3 to the boxed value, and so that's going to be 3 plus 3, so that'll be 6, and that's going to be coming from which node? Right now that's coming from node 3, and then is 3 connected to 6? No, so infinity is written down. And so at this point, let's try to keep this in view as well. What comes down, what's the box value that's coming down next? It is the 2, and so, or 4 you could say. So 4, 1 is getting boxed here, and then we're working on node 2. Okay, so we've finished these guys. 2 to 4, is 2 connected to 4? Yes, with a value of 3. 3 and 4 is 7, so underneath that, this now is introduced as 7, and I like to put a 2 there. And now is 2 connected to 5? 2 is connected to 5 with a value of 2. Notice that this is 6 altogether, and so you could either, so we actually have a tie, right, so far. You could write down 6 with a 2 coming from node 2, but 6 was also coming from node 3. So there's a tie there that we might look into later. And then is 2 connected to 6? Nope. And so that stays infinity. Good. And now what comes down next? Can you hear that rumbling? There's some thunder outside. This one comes down next, right? And so that's going to be down here. Whoops, I should have boxed it down here. Sorry about that. Okay, and so that gives me 5 here. Okay, and so now I look to see, is 5 connected to 4? 5 is not connected to 4, so therefore I don't put in infinity, right? I just bring down the value that I had before if I can't do any better. And then is 5 connected to 6? Yes, with a 2 value. 2 is plus 6 is 8, so I would write down, whoops, gosh darn it, I would write down 8, and that is coming from 5, right? Node 5. Good. And now we see that 7 is the next one coming down, so 7 comes down, box it up, and that's coming from node 4. Right, so node 4 is let's see, I guess all we're left with is the 6. So is node 4 connected to node 6? Yes, there's a 2 value there. Okay, so we're adding 2 to whatever's in the box, which is 7. So that gives me a 9. But I don't want to write down a 9 here because 9 is bigger than 8. And so I just bring down my 8. Whoops. I just bring down the 8 with a subscript of 5. Okay. And so what comes down next then would be the 8 with a 5 and 6, and I'm done. Right, so now the question is what is the shortest path from this from the diagram here? Well, this is the reason I like to use these subscripts, because this is telling me that I ended with 8 units, right, to get to 6, but that came from node 5. Node 5 came from node 2, and then node 2 came from node 1. Okay, so therefore my shortest path so far then, we started at 6, let me put my arrow this way, and then where did 6 come from? Came from 5. 5, where did we come from? 5, that came from 2, and that came from 1. So this is my shortest path with a value of 8. But notice that we did have a tie here, so when I worked backwards, I could also have said 6 comes from 5, comes from 3, and that comes from 1. So this is another possibility, and so both of these have the value 8. Okay, so we actually have a tie. So 8 is the shortest path, and you could get there using either of these. So if we look up here, we see what paths they are. So the original path was to go from 1 to 2, 1 to 2, and then to 5. Is that 5 down there? And then to 6. And then the alternative was to go from 1 to 3, and then 3 to 5, and then 5 to 6. Good. So either of those paths gave us the same value, and you can double check. This is 6 plus 2, 6 plus 2. Good. Alright, so I think I'm going to stop there. It's a little bit short on time, but I think that'll give us an opportunity to do the next example from start to finish. Okay, see you then.